Hi everyone, happy day. My name is Lay and I'm a mother of two, and we are a family of four on a financial journey of becoming completely debt free. We do have a plan of completing that in the year 2024, so I'm really excited to have you guys along to kind of go through with us as we hit all the payments and taking you guys along each step of the way. If you guys are new here, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and clicking on this video, and I really hope you enjoyed this video and content and decide to stay. And if you're returning, thank you so much for your continued support as we navigate through this journey and all of our successes, as I'm sure many mistakes along the way. So in today's video, we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We are going to be talking about the different types of methods of budgeting. When I did my how to get a month ahead, I had a lot of questions on how we budget, how we decided zero-based budgeting was right for our family. And that's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the two most common budgeting methods, which is the 50-30-20 budget and the zero-based budgeting. We're going to talk about pros and cons. And then because as I'm a visual learner, I'm going to show you guys if that would work for our budget and how that actually looks when it's being put together and actually being used. So let's go ahead and talk about the basics of the two different ones, the differences between them, and then we'll kind of go into the pros and cons. As always, you guys, I do write out an angle, but when I'm done, I will flip it. So the first one, the 50-30-20. I know you're thinking, you're like, Lay, what do those numbers even mean? I need you to break it down for me. So this is a percentage of your income. So for example, if you brought in $100 a month, $50 would go to one category, $30 would go to another category, and $20 would go to another. So what are those categories that those would go into? The first thing is going to be 50% of your income is going to go to your needs. Your needs are going to be different from each person. So your needs should consist of your fixed expenses, groceries, because you need food to eat, and gas, because you need to be, or transportation, because you need to be able to get to places, example, work, and everything like that. So your fixed expenses should also include your minimum debt payments. I think that's a really important thing to call out. Okay. So it should be your fixed expenses. What are your fixed expenses? For us, that would be like our mortgage, electricity bill, car insurance, homeowners insurance, HOA. That would be our fixed expenses. We have groceries, right? Because you need to be able to eat. However, there's a difference between convenience food groceries and groceries. Again, you're going to have to kind of think about what's going to work best for you and your family. Something that works wonderful for my family may not work great for your family, and something that works wonderful for you may not be the best for my family. So this is very subjective to your family, how you guys are if you guys are a sports family, you're always out and about, everything is just, there's a lot of variables that go into it. Gas or transportation, you need to be able to go to work, you need to be able to get your income in, go get your groceries, go do activities, other things like that. And then, of course, the minimum debt payments. We want to make sure that even when we're on a budget, we're still making our debt payments. We're still making sure that even if we can't throw an extra snowball payment, we're at least doing the minimums. The next 30% is going to be your wants. So this is where eating out and coffee would come into. Because as amazing as those things are and as much as we like them, they really are a want. They're not truly a need. And then we're going to do our fun money, or your treat yourself money, however you guys like to call it. I know my sister says treat yourself. That's her budget category for her fun money. As for mine is family fun. And then this is also going to be any upgrades as well. So for example, the new iPhone came out. If you have maybe one of the older versions like me, and I want to upgrade my phone, it would go into a want. It's not a need that I have the newest and greatest iPhone. It's a want because what I have works, it does the job, and if I want to upgrade, then it's going to come out of this 30%. And the last 20% is going to be savings / investing. So this is going to be your retirement, emergency, and sinking funds. Okay. So retirement, you guys, I talk about this all the time. As you guys both know, because we are primarily a single income household, we do have to retire 2 people. So for our retirement, we do end up investing a little bit more percentage wise. Also your emergency fund, this is going to come from the savings. It's important to make sure that if for some reason life happens, we make sure that we're covered and that we're not going to go into debt to cover an expense that was very unexpected. And then talking about unexpected, we have our sinking funds, which we know a sinking fund, if you're unaware, is to save for an event or a holiday or anything that you know will happen, even if you don't know when it's going to happen. So for example, an expected sinking fund would be a birthday. You know that birthday of that person happens every year the same day. An unexpected example of a sinking fund would be car maintenance. Like for example, you need an oil change or you need tires, or a home maintenance fund, your furnace goes out. So that would be a sinking fund. I know for a lot of home things, people like to use emergency fund. We personally in our family, we like to have a lot of backup funds before our emergency fund is touched, but that is just to give us peace of mind and knowing that our emergency fund is there. So that is the 50-20-30-20 budget. So 50% of it's going to go to your needs. So your fixed expenses, your mortgage, your electricity, groceries, your necessity groceries, gas and transportation, and minimum debt payments. 30% of this is going to go to wants. So that's going to be your eating out and your coffee, your fun money / treat yourself money, and any upgrades. Because you guys, Netflix, as much as you guys know, I love my Netflix and my Disney Plus, it is not a necessity. If we needed to cut it out from the budget, we would be able to do so. It's not a need like our mortgages or our car insurances. And then 20% is going to go to savings, investing, and that is going to be retirement, emergency, and sinking funds. So this is a really common budget that a lot of people like to do. However, our family, right now, we are a zero-based budgeter. And I'll talk about why we're not a 50-30-20 budgeter in just a little bit. So as being a zero-based budgeter, you're giving every dollar a name or a place to go. Sorry, guys. The sound of writing is just so soothing to me. So how to become a zero-based budgeter. When you're giving every dollar a place to go, you need to be able to understand your habits. What do you spend a lot of money on? What are areas you can cut back in? You need to know, you really truly need to analyze your finances and your spending habits with any budget, honestly and truly, because it's wonderful to come in and say, I'm going to cut out all my eating out. I'm going to cut out all of XYZ categories. But if you look at your past budget and that's where the majority of your income went, it's going to be very hard to say, okay, I'm not going to spend money on that anymore. So we need to make sure that we're being realistic in our budget and setting ourselves up for success. And that is the key to budgeting. Not everybody's journey is going to look the same, and that's okay. As long as you're making progress, any progress is progress. And so that is the key to this. So in order to be a zero-based budgeter, we need to know income, right? You need to know how much you're bringing in. Depending on how you're paid, if you're a W-2 earner, take a look. See how much your net versus your gross is. Take a look at your deductions, how much you're putting towards retirement, an HSA, FSA, if you have one of those. Any deductions that you have. Know what your income is and what to expect. Especially if you have a variable income, it's really important to, okay, maybe the best thing for variable income, take the last 3 to 6 months, add up all the income you have, and then divide it. Or I know a lot of people do, they take the lowest amount that they could expect to earn, and they budget that as almost a bare bones budget. And then anything above that, they'll add to savings or debt or different categories. So we need to know the income that we're bringing in. The next thing is we need to start tracking. Tracking expenses. And you guys can truly, so you guys can do that for the 50, 30, 20 budget. However, because they're grouped, it's not as significant as the zero-based budgeting into being successful in it. So why is tracking your expenses so important? I can tell you, I can say, you know, I'm not going to drink coffee at all this week, or maybe I'm just going to have it a few times. But when I look at my bank account or when I look at my coffee envelope, if I'm spending $20, $30 a pay period, obviously what I'm saying my goal is and what's actually happening, they're not aligning with each other. So tracking your expenses really truly helps align your goals with your spending, because you can say all day, I want to be X, Y, and Z. But if you look at your statements or your spending tracker and it's saying something else, truly your spending is telling you what's important to you at that time. So tracking expenses really is going to be eye-opening. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's going to be rough the first few months. It's going to be rough tracking your expenses and having that honest conversation with yourself, your spouse, your family, and saying, you guys, I thought we were only spending maybe $100 on eating out a month, and it turns out we're spending $400. Or I thought our grocery bill was $400, and it turns out it's actually $900. Tracking those expenses really brings up those things that maybe fly under the radar, or especially with inflation, we may not know how much things are actually changing in price. So it's really important to track our expenses. And then the last thing is we need to start categorizing. Categorize our expenses. So it's going to be, for example, bills, variable, sinking funds, debt, savings. Okay, so now we know our income, right? We know we're bringing in $100 a month. We know with that $100 a month that we're bringing in, we're going to be tracking every single expense. I'm talking about even if you go to the Dollar Tree, to if you go to IKEA, every single thing needs to be tracked and we need to know where it's going. The next thing is, after we're tracking our expenses and we know our income, we know the game plan, right? We're prepared and we're ready to go. Next, we're going to categorize our expenses. So how much of our income is going to bills? How much is going to go to our variable expenses? So variable expenses are expenses that can change. So for example, for our family, even though we know we need gas and groceries, we know that those amounts are not always going to be the same. And what I mean for that is, as we're approaching the holiday seasons, there is going to be weeks, for example, Thanksgiving and Christmas, where I'm going to be buying a lot of groceries because we're hosting things or we're going to events and we're going to be bringing things. So I know that those amounts can fluctuate. Same thing with gas. If we're going to go visit somebody for the holidays and we're traveling, we need to make sure that we're including that as well. So even though majority of the time it's about the same amount, it can fluctuate. So that's why I include our cash envelopes in our variable. The next thing is our sinking funds. So again, a sinking fund is a expected or unexpected thing that you know is going to happen. Think of birthdays, Christmases, holidays. You know those things are going to take place, but at the same sentence, you guys also know car maintenance is going to happen, house maintenance is going to happen. Things that normally if you have to pull out a credit card or you would go in debt for, that is what a sinking fund is for. It's to help you not go into debt. The next thing that we need to be able to budget in, or would be budgeted in, is your debt. Are you able to make any debt snowball payments? Any payments above the minimum payment to your debt? If you are, you'd put it into that category. And then the last thing for categorized expenses would be savings. So that would be your emergency fund, month ahead fund. You could throw in retirement, your Roth, your 529, anything in that would be savings. I listed them in the way that our family does it. However, these last three can really be moved around however it works. So let's talk about what our family does and why. For us, for example, we bring in roughly about $5,000 a month. So for this to work for our family, that would mean our fixed expenses are $2,500 a month, right? I can tell you right now, our fixed expenses are over $2,500 a month. And that's because we're on a debt payoff journey. So as we start paying things off, our debt snowball is going to quickly get these payments paid off. Because once you pay off one debt, you take that minimum payment and add it to the second debt. So because our bills and expenses are more than this $2,500, this budget is not able to work for us. And that's okay, you guys. I think a lot of times when people see budgets, they get very discouraged if a budget doesn't work for them. But it's okay. For us, this right now will not work for us. And that is just simply because our fixed expenses are more than 50% of our income. However, we also include our debt with this because, again, we are in a debt payoff and we do just like to add it in. So once we become debt free, our fixed expenses will definitely be around $2,100. So we can revisit this for us. I do like the idea of the 50-30-20 budget because you have more flexibility, right? You're able to say, okay, if I bring in $5,000, I could put $2,500 into our needs and I can just roll it over each month. If my fixed expenses are only $2,100, I have an excess of $400. I could just let it roll over. And maybe at the end of the year, I can make an extra contribution to a retirement account or a investment account or a savings, depending on whatever we are in the progress. We personally like zero-based budgeting, not only because right now this is not applicable to us or we can't do it, but we like to be very intentional about the money that we earn. Especially being a one-income household, it's really important for us to have somebody with our kids. And so for us, we need to be really intentional about the income that we bring in to allow that to continue to happen. So I think even after we're debt-free, I may do another video deciding which type of the budget we're going to do, but I really like it. I like being able to be intentional about knowing how much income we're bringing in, tracking expenses, making sure what we're saying is aligning with our spending, because it's easy to say, oh, I want to save $1,000. But if your spending is not aligning with it, then you're not being able to reach your goals because I'm spending $50 at Starbucks every week, right? So I have to be able to see what I'm doing, make the adjustments, make the changes, and execute it. Then to categorize expenses, I really like this, you guys. I'm a very organized person. I like knowing what's in bills, what's in variable, what's in sinking funds, how much we're throwing to debt, how much we're throwing in savings. I really like that. So that is the difference between what I find to be the two most common budgets and the two different methods, how they work, the pros and cons to them, which one we're doing and why we're not doing the other one. Which one do you guys like, or which one do you guys do? Do you think that you'll forever always be a zero-based budgeter? Do you think you'll always be a 50-30-20 budgeter? Let me know down in the comments of which one you are, and if you're kind of in the same boat where you'd like to try this, but maybe your fixed expenses are over half your income, let me know. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. If you guys enjoy budgeting, cash stuffing, and plan with me, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more content. If you guys are on a financial journey as well, please let me know in the comments because I'd love to support you and your channel. And lastly, if you guys would like to get to know me more better on a personal level, you guys can always follow us on Motherhood and Finances on Instagram. I talk a lot about couponing, family activities, a lot of day in my life, so you guys just get to know me a little bit better. So that's going to be it for this video, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.